Our story begins in Susa, the capital of the vast Persian Empire, during the reign of King Xerxes Ahasuerus. After the king deposed his former wife, Queen Vashti, for her defiance, he launched a kingdom-wide search for a new queen. Among the young women taken to the palace was Hadassah, a Jewish orphan raised by her wise cousin, Mordecai. To protect her in a foreign court, Mordecai gave her a Persian name, Esther. He also gave her a strict command: do not reveal your heritage. Esther was not just beautiful, she possessed a grace that won over everyone she met. After a year of preparation, she was presented to Xerxes. The king was so captivated that he placed the royal crown on her head, making her the Queen of Persia. While Esther lived in the palace, Mordecai sat at the king's gate. There, he offended the king's highest official, a proud man named Haman, because Mordecai refused to bow to him. Haman's ego turned into a murderous rage not just against Mordecai, but against all Jews. Haman tricked the king into signing a decree. On a specific day, all Jews in the empire, men, women, and children, were to be killed. When Mordecai heard this, he tore his clothes and wept. He sent word to Esther, pleading with her to go to the king. Esther was terrified. Persian law was lethal. Anyone who approached the king without being summoned could be executed on the spot, unless the king held out his golden scepter. Mordecai's response to her fear is one of the most famous challenges in history. Do not think that, because you are in the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. Esther found her resolve. She asked the Jewish people to fast with her for 3 days. Her final words before acting were, "If I perish, I perish." On the 3rd day, Esther dressed in her royal robes and stood in the inner court. When Xerxes saw her, he was moved by her beauty and extended his scepter. Instead of accusing Haman immediately, Esther played a long game. She invited the king and Haman to a private banquet. During the meal, she invited them to a second banquet the following day. Haman left the palace gloating, unaware that his pride was leading him into a trap. That night, the king couldn't sleep. He ordered the royal chronicles to be read to him and accidentally discovered that Mordecai had once saved his life from an assassination plot, but had never been rewarded. In a stroke of divine irony, the king forced Haman to lead Mordecai through the city on a horse, proclaiming his honor. At the second banquet, the king asked again, "Queen Esther, what is your petition?" Esther finally spoke, "Grant me my life, this is my petition. And spare my people, this is my request." She revealed that Haman had plotted to destroy her and her kindred. The king, furious at the betrayal, ordered Haman to be executed on the very gallows Haman had built for Mordecai. Because a Persian decree could not be revoked, the king issued a new law allowing the Jews to defend themselves. They fought back and were victorious, turning a day of expected slaughter into a day of celebration. To this day, the Jewish holiday of Purim is celebrated to remember how a hidden queen and her faithful cousin saved an entire nation from destruction. One of the most unique aspects of the Book of Esther is that God is never mentioned by name. In the original Hebrew text, the name of the Lord is absent. However, the story is structured through a series of coincidences that suggest a divine hand at work. The king's insomnia on the exact night Haman was planning Mordecai's death. The reading of the specific scroll that mentioned Mordecai's loyalty. Esther being chosen out of thousands of candidates. This creates a powerful theme. Even when God seems silent or hidden, he is often working behind the scenes through the courageous choices of ordinary people. Haman is the ultimate literary villain because his own arrogance becomes his undoing. On the night before the final banquet, Haman was so consumed by hatred for Mordecai that he built a gallows 75 feet high, 50 cubits just for him. The irony reached its peak when the king asked Haman, "What should be done for the man the king delights to honor?" Thinking the king meant him, Haman suggested dressing the man in the king's own royal robes, placing him on the king's horse, having a noble prince lead him through the city shouting his praises. When the king responded, "Go at once and do this for Mordecai the Jew," it was the ultimate psychological defeat for Haman before his physical execution even took place. People often wonder why Esther didn't just tell the king the truth at the first banquet. Most scholars believe she was incredibly savvy, building tension. She knew the king was impulsive. By waiting, she piqued his curiosity and made him more eager to please her. Isolating Haman. By inviting Haman to a private meal, she made him feel safe and overconfident. The power of timing. The delay allowed for the night of insomnia to happen, which shifted the king's favor toward Mordecai and away from Haman's influence before the big reveal. The name Esther is linked to the Persian word for star stera, but in Hebrew, the root str means to hide or conceal. Asterisk, she hid her Jewish identity. God's presence was hidden in the narrative. The true intentions of the characters were hidden until the very end. The story doesn't end with Haman's death. Mordecai was promoted to the position Haman once held, becoming the king's right-hand man. He used his power to issue a counter-decree, ensuring the Jews could arm themselves. The text notes that Mordecai became great in the king's palace and was esteemed by his many brothers because he worked for the good of his people. It is one of the few stories in the Bible that ends with the protagonist in a position of high political power in a foreign land.